Keir Starmer recently faced an embarrassing situation when Nigel Farage publicly revealed shocking secrets. Farage did not hesitate to strongly criticise Starmer, particularly targeting his cowardly silence in the face of the worst immigration crisis Britain has ever seen. But it's the secrets that Farage unveiled that truly humiliated Starmer. So what are these specific revelations and why are they powerful enough to disgrace Starmer? Let's delve into the analysis right after this. But before we explore the details, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on the hottest news from British politics.
That young males who, by the way, throw their iPhones and their passports into the channel, and I filmed this myself being out there on a small boat, they chuck them into the sea at the 12-mile line. Do you know they're given a new iPhone as soon as they get to Dover?
God.
No, I'm not making this up.
Nigel Farage has just unleashed a storm upon Keir Starmer, and the accusations are akin to an explosion. Farage pointed out a worrying fact. Over 128,000 people have illegally immigrated to the UK, of which 90% are young people, many coming from areas ravaged by war, terrorism and gang crime. Farage's frustration lies not only in the number of immigrants, but also in how Keir Starmer's Labour Party is responding, or rather not responding. Farage criticises Starmer for ignoring the immigration issue, which he considers the biggest crisis facing the UK. He doesn't believe Starmer is taking any real measures to address the situation. Instead, Farage argues that Labour is merely using empty promises to placate the public. Yet these promises feel like an empty shell, devoid of any real value. Moreover, some Labour MPs have publicly deemed border control as an act of racism, even sending letters to the Home Secretary demanding recognition of the link between racism and immigration policies. This complicates the situation further as public frustration with uncontrolled immigration continues to rise. The overwhelming influx of immigrants has caused serious repercussions for the UK, a phenomenon that affects not only major cities, but also harms many small towns, where residents have grown accustomed to a peaceful life. In recent years, the country's population has increased at the fastest rate since the 1970s. Just last year, the population rose by 1%, reaching 68.3 million. It's important to note that this figure only reflects legal immigrants, while the number of illegal immigrants is challenging to accurately estimate. The situation in small towns like Clacton, where Nigel Farage wields significant influence, is a prime example of the serious problems caused by immigration. Imagine living in a small town where resources like schools, hospitals and public transport have become depleted. Schools are overcrowded with soaring student numbers, resulting in a decline in educational quality. Hospitals have no beds to accommodate patients, while waiting times for medical appointments are increasingly extended. The streets of Clacton are congested, resembling scenes in large cities, and this situation has not been addressed promptly by local authorities. Particularly as the government begins constructing dozens, even hundreds of new homes without a corresponding enhancement of healthcare, education or transport infrastructure, the situation worsens. These changes not only increase pressure on public services, but also make residents feel that the government is indifferent to their needs and desires. This is turning towns like Clacton into ticking time bombs, poised to explode due to the dissatisfaction and tensions within the local community. Nigel Farage has warned that Labour's disregard for the pressures these small towns face will only exacerbate the situation. He points out that this is not merely an issue of building new homes, it is also about the government creating an unsustainable future for these small communities. Residents of towns like Clacton feel abandoned, while government policies seem to serve only a small group of immigrants. The disparity in resources between major urban areas and smaller towns is becoming increasingly apparent. As services like education and healthcare become overstretched, local residents begin to feel that they are no longer receiving the benefits they rightfully deserve. This anxiety is not merely a temporary phenomenon, it can lead to long-term consequences for society. Recent surveys indicate that many Clacton residents are feeling frustrated and worried about the future of their community. They are questioning the ability to maintain quality of life in the context of deteriorating public services. In fact, There are many opinions suggesting that the government needs to take urgent measures to improve the situation, including investing in infrastructure and enhancing public services. Ultimately, a bright future for small communities like Clacton can only be built when the government acknowledges and acts upon the challenges they face. Listening to and responding to the needs of the public is essential to prevent an explosion of discontent and tensions within society. Nigel Farage continues to call for urgent solutions. He argues that Labour has failed to implement effective measures to control the borders and curb the wave of immigration. Farage has proposed a series of more robust measures, from strengthening border security, reforming the asylum system, to tightening immigration regulations to protect the interests of the British people. However, Farage also recognises that the issue is not solely about borders, but also about equitable resource distribution. He believes that the government needs to invest more in healthcare, education and transport infrastructure to meet the growing demands of the population. In addition to Farage, many military experts have also sounded the alarm about the serious consequences if the immigration crisis is not addressed promptly. They argue that besides the economic and social impacts, the wave of immigration could pose a threat to national security. Keir Starmer has had noteworthy reactions to Farage's criticisms. He has promised to enhance border control measures and ensure that the UK has a fairer and more efficient immigration system. However, these promises from Starmer have faced scepticism from both the public and political opponents. Many believe that Starmer is merely trying to appease public outrage without any concrete plans to tackle the issue. Nigel Farage has not hesitated to label Starmer's promises as empty and untrustworthy. He argues that Labour is using the immigration issue as a political tool to gain points, rather than genuinely seeking solutions. And a leader who remains silent while the nation cries out for action is not a true leader. The current immigration crisis is not merely a domestic issue, but poses a significant challenge to British foreign policy. The inability to control borders and the flow of migrants has weakened the UK's standing on the international stage. The British government, instead of effectively addressing this issue, is isolating itself and losing respect from other nations. The impotence of the UK in handling the immigration issue has led many partner countries to lose faith in its capabilities. Neighbouring countries, particularly France, have repeatedly criticised the UK's handling of the situation and demanded stronger measures to prevent the flow of migrants across the English Channel. If this situation continues, the UK may face the risk of losing important partners within the European Union, and even globally. Other countries may view the UK as a nation unable to control its border security, leading to tightened cooperative agreements and increased controls against the UK. The immigration crisis also raises questions about the future of British foreign policy. Can the UK maintain its role on the international stage without resolving internal issues like immigration? Or will it have to accept a weaker position in international negotiations? To restore its credibility, the UK must take decisive and effective steps to control its borders and address the immigration crisis. The government needs to demonstrate that it is not only concerned with larger goals, but also understands the real situations faced by local areas. If not, the UK will continue to sink deeper into an unending crisis, and public outrage will only escalate. With everything that has been unfolding, the future of the UK's foreign policy and immigration remains a significant question. If Keir Starmer and the Labour Party cannot provide specific and effective solutions, the UK may face an even more serious crisis. Nigel Farage has tapped into the sentiments of a significant portion of the population who feel betrayed by current policies. Will Starmer regain public trust and guide the UK through this challenging period? Or will he become one of the most criticised leaders in the history of modern British politics? Please leave your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest analyses on British politics.